The HOA shouldn't have parked their fancy truck against our electric fence, but they did. And my granddad? He didn't warn them. He wired their precious truck straight into the fence and waited for the lesson to hit. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. Most people look at a ranch and see wide fields, open sky, and a few fences. What they don't see, what they don't understand, is boundaries. But my granddad has lived his whole life by them, a man of rules, silence, and consequences. Our ranch sits right outside Sage Hollow Meadows, the HOA community that thinks their gates make them royalty. Their president, Lydia Crane, had been on our nerves for months. First, she claimed our cattle wandered too close to their scenic walking trail. Then she said our dirt road kicked dust onto their imported shrubs. Then she had the nerve to suggest our fence was blocking community view access. Yeah, our fence, on our land, installed by my great-grandfather. She wanted it moved. Granddad told her the same thing he tells every rattlesnake. Cross that line and you won't like the outcome. Apparently, she took that as a challenge. The day it all went down started quiet, morning sun turning the pasture gold, cattle drifting toward water. Granddad sitting on the porch like a statue carved from dust and old stories. I stepped outside with 2 coffees, handed him one, and caught the look in his eye. That slow, measuring glance he uses when something doesn't sit right with the world. "What's wrong?" I asked. He nodded toward the end of our driveway. A white truck, shiny, lifted, polished like it belonged in a magazine, was parked nose first into our electric fence, close enough that the chrome bumper practically kissed the wire. "Whoever owns that," Granddad murmured, "ain't from around here." He didn't even have to point out the vanity plate, Sage Hollow HOA, or the words written on the door that said HOA. "Why park that close?" I muttered. Granddad sipped his coffee, because they think they can. Before I could reply, I heard the sound of heels crunching gravel. Sharp, fast, impatient. Here came Lydia Crane herself, storming down the lane like she owned every inch of dirt her shoes touched. She didn't greet us, didn't smile, didn't even fake politeness. "This vehicle," she announced, "is conducting official HOA business. We'll remove it shortly." Granddad didn't look at her, didn't stand, didn't even blink. Instead, he tipped his hat slightly toward the truck and said, "Official business is awful close to a live wire." Lydia scoffed, actually scoffed. "I assume your fence is deactivated while we're here," she said. Granddad took another slow sip, eyes steady on her. "No," he answered. "It hums just fine." And that was the moment, the exact moment, I knew Lydia was about to learn what every rancher already knows. The fence doesn't care who you think you are, only where you don't belong. He never does. Trouble comes fast, solutions come steady. The moment Lydia strutted back toward her car, waving orders at the 2 HOA compliance officers in reflective vests, Granddad rose from his porch chair with a quiet grunt, the kind that meant a plan had already formed in his head. "You thinking what I think you're thinking?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just walked to the shop, boots crunching slow, deliberate, like every step was a sentence in a story only he knew how to tell. He grabbed his insulated gloves, then the copper wire, then the split loom tubing, the same tools he's used to mend fence, spook raccoons, and deal with the occasional drunk hunter who couldn't read private land signs. "What if this gets messy?" I asked. Granddad grinned. "Barely. Messy's for folks who ain't precise." He approached the truck without sneaking, without hiding, without pretending. He moved openly, like a man perfectly comfortable being seen because he wasn't doing anything wrong, just enforcing boundaries in the language the land understands. The truck sat so near the electric fence that the metal was practically humming against the air. Whoever parked it had no idea how close they were to a hard-learned lesson. Granddad crouched, tucked the copper wire inside the protective tubing, and slipped it beneath the step rail. "Right where a person naturally grabs when climbing in. Won't hurt 'em," he said. "Just give 'em a memory they can't shake loose." Then he mounted the trail cam across the fence line. Full view of the truck, full view of the wire, full view of everything. "For the record," he murmured, "folks like this rewrite stories. Cameras don't." We didn't wait long. A dust cloud appeared on the road, the same sedan from earlier, Lydia at the wheel with a face full of corporate self-importance. Behind her, the 2 vest guys got out, looking a whole lot less confident up close. "Retrieve the vehicle," Lydia ordered. "And be careful, these ranchers are unpredictable." Unpredictable. On our land, near our fence. Right. Vest guy number 1 approached the driver door. He eyed us, eyed the fence, eyed Lydia, then reached out. His hand gripped the rail. Crack! The jolt snapped through him like a whip. He jumped back, swearing, shaking out his hand like a man who'd grabbed a hornet. "What was that?" he yelled. "Electric fence," I said, sipping my coffee. "There's a sign. It shouldn't reach the car. Then the car shouldn't be touching the fence," Granddad replied. Vest guy number two crouched, alarmed, peered under the truck, and recoiled like he'd just seen a snake. There's wiring under here. Lydia seized on that instantly. That's sabotage. Sheriff will hear about this. Granddad clicked the trail cam remote. A red light blinked. Already recorded, he said. Sheriff will see the whole dance. Right then, like the universe cued it, a tow truck pulled up, and behind it, Sheriff Colton Dawes. My granddad already called him to report trespassers and told him to come with a tow truck. He stepped out. He took one look at the truck, touching the fence, the warning signs, the trail cam, and Lydia's expression. Which one of you wants to explain why a private HOA vehicle is trespassing on ranch land? Lydia tried. Oh, she tried. Evidence storage, she said stiffly. We were documenting a... No, Dawes cut in. You were parking stupid. The tow operator snorted. Want me to haul it, Sheriff? Yup. Vest guy number one glared at us like we'd assaulted him personally. But the fence had done exactly what fences do. Enforce the line. Clean. Clear. Without touching a soul. As the tow truck lifted the HOA truck away from the wire, Lydia's whole face collapsed into the expression of someone realizing her authority stops at the gate, and the gate is very far behind her. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe, because the story is only going to get better. The tow truck hadn't even cleared the ridge before word started spreading through Sage Hollow like prairie fire. Porch cameras had caught everything. The spark, the jump, Lydia's face twisting up like she'd bitten a lemon, the sheriff correcting her like a student who hadn't done her homework. In a neighborhood fueled by gossip, this was pure gasoline. But the real show didn't start until 2 hours later, when a dusty county compliance truck rolled up our lane. Out stepped Officer Keene, clipboard in hand, glasses low on his nose, the kind of man who spoke in checkboxes and city codes. He walked the fence, checked the voltage, reviewed the signs, then reviewed the trail cam footage Granddad offered, like evidence prepared by nature itself. After a long minute, Keene clicked his pen and said, "Fence is within regulation." The vehicle wasn't. Lydia, who'd followed him onto our land like a mosquito that didn't understand bug spray, sputtered. "That fence injured my officer." Keene didn't even look at her. "Your officer injured himself by tampering with a powered agricultural line after ignoring posted signage. That's documented trespass, improper vehicle placement, and reckless endangerment." She blinked like someone had slapped her with the dictionary. Sheriff Dawes returned then, holding a stack of papers he'd collected from running the HOA's license. "Miss Crane," he said, "you've got unpaid county taxes, an illegally leased enforcement vehicle, and no legal authority to run patrols outside your neighborhood." He pointed at the tow truck in the distance. "Your truck stays impounded until the board sorts this mess out." Lydia finally cracked. "You can't do this. I am the HOA president." "That title ends at your subdivision sign," the sheriff replied. "And out here, the law speaks louder than your job does." Vest guy number one, the one who'd been zapped, was nursing his hand like a wounded animal. "You people are crazy," he muttered. Granddad set his coffee down, walked up, placed one firm hand on the man's shoulder. "Son," he said gently, "crazy is sticking your hand on a live fence after ignoring 3 warning signs and a 70-year-old man sipping coffee beside it." The sheriff stifled a laugh. Keene coughed to hide his own, but the day wasn't done teaching lessons. 2 days later, Sage Hollow called an emergency meeting in their fancy glass clubhouse, the kind of building that looks expensive but feels hollow. Granddad and I stood in the back while Lydia stormed the podium, spinning tales about hostile ranchers, dangerous wiring, and sovereign citizens. But then Treasurer Miles Hart stepped up, eyes tired, briefcase full of spreadsheets like artillery. He revealed everything. HOA funds funneled into a Sage Asset Partners shell. Unauthorized vehicle lease, fake enforcement division uniforms, attempts to expand HOA control outside their jurisdiction, fines issued illegally, threat letters drafted but never approved. The room didn't erupt, it deflated. People leaned back from Lydia like she'd grown thorns. Finally, someone muttered what everyone was thinking. "So the ranch family didn't attack you? You attacked their fence with your stupidity." Miles motioned for a vote. Removal of President Lydia Crane, effective immediately. 52 hands rose. 0 opposed. Lydia's face collapsed like a bad souffle left in the oven too long. The sheriff filed charges: trespassing, fraudulent impersonation, misuse of HOA funds, filing false reports, and attempted unlawful enforcement. Vest guy number 1 was fined for trespassing and unlawful entry. Vest guy number 2 quit the moment the impound bill hit. As for our ranch, peace returned. Cattle grazed. The fence hummed its steady tune. Kids from Sage Hollow even biked out to hear the fence buzz, like it was a tourist attraction. Granddad just sat on the porch, sipping coffee, listening to the land speak, like he always does. When someone asked if he regretted it, he just smiled. Boundary got crossed. Fence reminded him where it was. So tell me, folks, was Granddad right to let that fence speak, or did we take the lesson a little too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious where you draw the line. The end.